In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful.
So I was born in Pakistan, in Sialkot, and I came here when I was 9 years old in 1994. So I grew up in Virginia, went to elementary school there, I went to a middle school, high school, university as well, so graduated with an IT degree. So I grew up in Virginia. Now I'm living in Maryland. I also have a Islamic studies degree as well. So I went to George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. I majored in information technology. So I graduated from there in 2008. And then I worked in the IT field for a few years before I got involved with ICNA, Council for Social Justice, full-time. I wanted to contribute, give back to the society and to the community, and I wanted to try to bring positive change in the world at whatever level that we can. So social justice is an arena where there's a lot of absence from the Muslim community. We're very good with relief efforts and da'wah and other things, but we're not very good with social justice issues. Social justice is defined, basically, it depends on who you ask, but generally speaking, it's about making sure that everyone's rights are fulfilled and everyone gets whatever they deserve, and no one is oppressed in any way. That's basically what social justice is. And social justice entails mostly social justice activism entails mostly getting involved and demanding your government or your society to give those rights to those who deserve them. So ICNA, Council for Social Justice, basically, the number of things we do, we partner up with other social justice organizations, Muslim or non-Muslim based, doesn't matter. We have some Christian partners, we have some Jewish partners, so we link up with them and we try to advocate for things that we mutually agree on, things like, raising the minimum wage, ending U.S. torture, ending mass incarceration, and other types, or economic inequality, for example, racial injustice, giving rights to the indigenous people. So these types of things. So we join up with those organizations and their efforts. So we, attend rallies with them. We get petitions signed on their behalf. One of our main goals is to get the Muslim community involved in this process. So we try to be this bridge between social justice movements and work and the Muslim community, because a lot of the people in the Muslim community don't know how to get involved, what to do. And so ICNA CSJ basically acts like a bridge to cross over and encourage them to get involved in these movements and these organizations and basically stand up for social justice issues. So we were part of the Native American indigenous rights that was happening in North Dakota. So we sent a team out there and they did a small documentary on what the people were suffering. It's on our website, icnacsj.org. We've also done lobbying work where we basically link up with other Muslim organizations. We call Muslim Advocacy Day, because in this country, one of the main ways to get things done is try to persuade politicians to create laws which are fair to everyone. So every year we organize a Muslim Advocacy Day, and we take Muslims. Last year we had about close to 500-600 Muslims. We took to Capitol Hill, and it's a 2-day process. We make them meet their politicians, their elected officials, and we try to basically lobby for just laws, or either try to remove support from laws which are unjust, or try to encourage politicians to pass laws which will be fair to everyone. So these are some of the efforts that we've done, and we've also done a lot of work regarding getting involved with raising the minimum wage efforts, and how it's having a very bad impact on many families who cannot afford. They have 2 or 3 jobs, and they can barely put food on the table, and it's hurting a lot of people. And so we've been involved in some efforts of rallying and going to DC and rallying and basically asking the government to raise the minimum wage. So there are some non-Muslims, they're minority, but they're very loud, so they seem like a majority, who have this idea, more like a conspiracy theory, that the whole purpose Muslims are here is because they're trying to take over the US government and establish Sharia law. And they want to turn it into Saudi Arabia or something like that. Which is, of course, is not true, because Sharia law does not mean taking over the government. You know, Sharia law is basically just abiding by God's laws. It's the same thing as, for example, the Jews. They have their, you know, they have their judicial, they have their Judaic law that they follow, or even Christians. They have their Christian law, their biblical laws that they follow. So that doesn't mean they're trying to take over the country. And so Sharia law is just basically just a Muslim abiding by the rules of his religion. And 85% of Sharia law, it deals with personal ritual worship, for example. And another 10% deals with dietary laws, marriage laws, and things like that. And only 5% deals with actually the state level, you know. And no one here is trying to take over the state. And the U.S. has very strict laws that any foreign type of law, it already has a law in existence that any type of foreign law that contradicts US-based law will not be tolerated. So there's already a law in place. This is actually an irrational fear that has no basis. And it's just propaganda from Islamophobes trying to basically create fear against Muslims and minorities and trying to drive them out. You know, some of the lessons I've learned is that social justice, especially in the Muslim community, is very dead. We're not very active in it because generally speaking, Muslims are very well off in this country, you know, financially very well off, educationally very well off. So we're not very connected with those who are less well off in this country. And because of that, there's not a lot of people from the Muslim community that engage in social justice work. And there's a lot of fear too that I came across, that a lot of Muslims are fearful that if I get involved in social justice work, maybe the government might come after me. You know, maybe I might get deported or something like that. You know, so there's a lot of fear amongst Muslims, but it's something that we have to get involved in. It's very important. Another thing I learned is that even in Islam, in our religion, you know, social justice is a huge part, you know, of trying to fight for change, you know, trying to bring any positive change in society is part and parcel of our faith. The Prophet ﷺ said, whenever you see something evil, try to change it with your hand. If you cannot, then with your tongue. And if you cannot, then, you know, at least detest it with your heart. And that's the least of faith. But that's a call to action, you know, that when you see something wrong, try to change it, you know, in your society, in your family, even in yourself, whatever it is try to change that. So in our society, we see a lot of injustice going on all around us, whether it deals with racism, whether it deals with economic rights, whether it deals with, you know, unjust policies on the, you know, on part of the government, whatever it is. So we should, as Muslims, be involved in that type of work and try to bring change to it. So that's part and parcel of faith. So that's another thing that I learned. So basically, I would recommend the Muslim youth, if they want to get involved in social justice work, they should either link up with organizations that are, you know, maybe for example, in their high school or in their universities. There are a lot of organizations that are involved in, you know, in the political change or climate. They have organizations, you know, even MSAs, some of them, they get involved in social justice work, or get involved with your MSA and encourage them to link up with other student organizations on campus and get involved in social justice work. You know, even all these lot of anti-Trump campaigns, a lot of students are there who are student organizations that get involved, and they go to these rallies and they get involved into the you know, atmosphere. They can also get involved by, you know, locally. You know, they can look up locally what type of organizations exist in their area which are doing social justice work, and they can link up with them. I would also recommend they should at least try start reading materials on social justice issues. They can go to Amazon, look up like the top 10 books on social justice, for example, and just kind of familiarize themselves with what it means to be in social justice, what type of issues we deal with as a society. Also documentaries watch on social justice issues. There's a lot of good ones on climate change that exist. And there are a lot of things on mass incarceration that are out there, on racism. And so they should just educate themselves and know what they're getting themselves involved in and what they're fighting for.